What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all having a good day and a good week. Today we're gonna do a tier list for the dark side characters in LEGO Star Wars Battles. I noticed this on the Reddit about a week, 2 weeks ago now, 15 days, by Tally Dally Whoop, and I thought this would be a really cool video to make and just to talk about all the cards and what I think of them and how they rank compared to all the other cards. So I'll leave a link to the tier list as well as the subreddit in the description of the video. So let's go ahead and get into it. B2 Super Battle Droid. I think that he's a solid B tier character. He's not gonna do anything crazy for you, but he is really good for single target damage, and he has just enough health to take out a lot of the more annoying enemies. Like if there's a flamethrower against you, he'll be able to take it out in most situations. So I think that puts him solidly in the middle of the pack. Nothing crazy, just really solid. Now, IG-88. I think we all know where he's going. Even after the most recent update, which I talked about in my last video, shameless plug, he's still really good. The damage drop off that he got didn't seem to impact his viability very much at all. He's not as incredibly overpowered as he used to be, but he's still such a good card. It's hard to make a deck and not put him in there because he's useful in every situation pretty much. So I think he's a good character to open up the S tier with. Next is the one cost B1 Battle Droid. Now, just for the fact that he's a B1, or just B1, just for the fact that he's a 1 energy card, he's definitely in the top half of the list. One cost cards are so useful constantly. Like, no matter what deck you use, a one cost card is going to be really valuable for you to be able to cycle through to other cards, or just to have a little mediary card to play to stop an enemy from attacking a more valuable troop. So I don't think it's in the A or the S tier because he is very weak. But because of being one cost and because of the versatility and usefulness of him, I think he's solid B tier. Not better than B2, but definitely in B tier. Next, the Guavian dude. He's not very good. After the most recent buff he got, he's still not that good. I'd put him in D tier. He still gets some use sometimes, depending on what the situation is, but the fact that he doesn't have a consistent area of damage, his attacks can go all over the place, and his damage isn't that high, even after the buff, it means you're better served not having him in a deck most of the time, because the flamethrower, it's going to be better in every situation. But the fact that he can be useful occasionally, I think that keeps him out of F tier. Okay, now BB9E. I think that's what this character's name is. Same thing with the B1. 1 energy, super valuable. But because he can stun lock anything, that is insanely good. If you get a tank in front of him and put him in behind, then you can take out literally anything. He gets one shot by the main tower, so you can't cheese him that way. But any other tower, as long as you don't spawn it in range of the tower, he's gonna be able to take it out by himself if you don't do anything to stop him. That stun lock is super powerful, so I think he's easily A tier. He's not quite S tier, I don't think, because there are a lot of ways to stop him. He's very low health, so if you put pretty much anything in range of him to shoot him, you're gonna take him out, and it's pretty much just a 1 energy loss for your opponent when you have a troop on the board. But he's so useful, so I think anything less than A tier would be crazy for me to not put him there. Okay, I don't even know what this character's name is off the top of my head, but he's probably the only F tier character on this list right now. I talked about it in the update video, but he's so useless in almost every situation. The only time it's going to be useful for you is if you're in overtime or at the end of the game and your tower is just in one shot range by the bomber. it'll keep you from losing immediately, but every other situation he's not good. So easy F tier, no question about it. Now for this Walker, the 5 cost one. I think it's a C tier card. Either B or C tier. I don't think I'm going to put in C tier for this list. 5 energy is a lot. And this is a card that's like not easily countered, but there are a lot of counters for it. A sniper can take it out, or at least it could before the last update. I haven't seen a lot of situations between that matchup since. But I'm pretty sure the sniper could take him out as long, even just one-on-one, if the sniper starts shooting at him at his full range. He'll be able to take him out before dying. So he's good as a backup character for a bigger tank, or to be just a part of a larger push. But for 5 cost, you want a little bit more than just a good like backup character. He's not going to crush anything on his own. I think he would take out a flamethrower by himself, not a turbo laser, definitely not the particle laser. So I think because of his, for 5 cost, you want to be useful on his own as well as with other units, and he just doesn't have that same viability as I would want for 5 cost, so I'm going to put him in C tier. Next is the AT-AT. I really like this card. I've had it in pretty much every deck I've used since I started the game. It's just a good card to have. The only time I think he wouldn't be useful is useful in a deck is if you're trying to do a cheap cycle deck with a whole bunch of swarm cards to just try to overwhelm your opponent. Then he might not be that good. But in pretty much every other kind of deck, he's going to be useful. Having a card that just immediately goes for towers and ignores troops is really good. It'll help you like push directly through whatever your opponent tries to put on defense and allow you to build up a push behind them. So I think, especially for 4 cost, a good tank with good damage against towers, I think it's easily B tier. Not quite A, because he is counterable if you don't back him up with other strong troops, but I think B tier is a really good spot to put him. Definitely better than B2 and B1. First Order Flamethrower Trooper. Now this one he could go in A or S. I think for right now I'm going to put him in S, slightly below Sniper, because he's just so good. He absolutely destroys any kind of swarm troop, but he also is really strong against pretty much everything. I find myself putting him down against pretty much anything the opponent plays against me. If he puts down a tank, I'll play him. If he puts down swarm troops, I'll put him down. Puts down a hero, he can stand really good against a hero and give you time to build up energy to play something else against him. And he'll do really well against enemy towers as well. So he's just all around useful, and when he has a matchup he's favorable in, like against swarm troops, he'll absolutely destroy them. And not to mention, he will take out BB-8 before he gets to him. So I think that is also one of the extra reasons why I'm going to move him from A to S for right now. Eventually that might change. I feel like he's in a position to get a small nerf, and that nerf could probably put him down to A, but until something like that happens, he's definitely an S tier character to me. Imperial Probe Droid. And I think this one is a card that will have different opinions based on who you ask. I really like it, and I think it's super useful. It flies, which makes it unkillable from a lot of different units, namely flamethrowers and a lot of the heroes. So I think that just by itself puts him in the top 3 tiers for me. I don't think he's quite in A tier, because he is easily counterable by most cards. If it's just a 1v1 matchup, then he's going to lose against a lot of stuff. So I think because of that, he's in B tier, and I'd probably put him a little lower than B2, because B2 I think wins that matchup if they start attacking at the same time, but he definitely beats out the 1 cost B1. So I think that's a pretty good spot to put him in. Now we got the larger quantity of B2s. or B1s. I think that they overall are better than the 1-cost B1 because you get more of them, and they're a whole lot stronger than the 1-cost in most situations, which is why they cost more, obviously. Having these down will take out a tank. It'll help you beat a lot of the heroes as long as they don't have their ability up. And pretty much anything other than splash damage, they're really strong against. One reason why I would want to maybe not put them higher than Imperial Probe Droid, or maybe not Imperial Probe Droid, I think he's better than that, but maybe not B2, is because against Porgs, it's really frustrating. I think they should at least be able to like have an even trade with Porgs, but Porgs beat B1s pretty much every time I've seen it happen, which is really frustrating to me because they're like equivalent to each other from light side to dark side. But just because of that, I think that they're going to be worse than B2, because overall they're overall pretty much equally as viable as B2. They're obviously completely different types of cards, but comparing their usefulness 1-to-1, they're good against pretty much about the same amount of units as B2 is. But because they lose that one-on-one like exact comparison matchup, I don't think they're quite as good. So they'll go in the middle of B tier. TIE Bomber, I think easy A tier, not even better than BB, whatever he is, 9E, I think I said. Direct damage cards are amazing. They always will be, no matter what happens to them, no matter what nerfs happen. Being able to place damage anywhere on the map, regardless of if you have towers built or what stage of the map it is, it's always going to be useful. So I think a top of A tier is really good. If they did more damage, maybe S tier, but I think right now it's already really good and doesn't need any more damage, and I think that puts it well at the top of A tier. Stormtroopers, 3-cost variant. My main question with them is whether they're going to be above B1 or below B1, because they're very similar cards. B1s have more of them to do damage, but they have lower health and slightly lower damage than the Stormtroopers. But also, if the B1s are good for distracting single target enemies, Stormtroopers not as much. So I think because of that, I'm going to put them below B1, because a lot of the value in the B1 is being able to have 6 units down the board to distract a Luke Skywalker, not Yoda because he has the splash damage, but like distracting a sniper, distracting Luke, distracting the Walker, equivalent 5 energy Walker for light side. So I think Stormtroopers are slightly less valuable because of that, but they're still middle B tier for me. Tusken Raider, I think he's C tier. I don't see him used a lot. He's an alright tank, but I feel like a lot of people, at least at the higher trophy levels, have realized that there are just better cards to use in his spot. Like B2. He's not a tank, but he'll fill a similar role to what Tusken is. Tusken's a mini tank, so he's not going to take a lot of damage before dying anyway. So I think a lot of his value is being able to rush in and start doing damage relatively quickly and distracting a lot of stuff. But B2 will also do that similarly. He won't have as much health, obviously, but he's going to do way more damage. So I think that he's just not as good in the role that he needs to play to be higher on the list. He's definitely better than D tier. He gets some use, and in the right situations he can be valuable, but most of the time he's just not going to be. So I think bottom of C tier is a good spot for him. Droideka. I think this is another one similar to the Imperial Probe Droid. Depending on who you ask, you're going to get vastly different rankings. I don't really like him that much. He has the little stun whenever you deploy him into an enemy, but it also, you can't just place him in a spot. You have to place him and then wait for him to roll forward and then deploy. So he doesn't have the immediate damage that you would want out of a card. So if you like that, I think that's what it hinges on. If you like that mechanic, then he's good. He also has a shield, which can be valuable, but I just don't think it's that worthwhile for just the way the card works at the start. I definitely get frustrated against him sometimes, especially if I have a bunch of like Porgs or something, or Ewoks, and Droideka gets placed and stuns all of them. That's really frustrating, but he doesn't even kill them, so it's just kind of a delay. So he's more annoying than actually like useful. So I think it's gonna be a controversial one. I'm gonna put him in C tier, above the Tuskens. I think in the right deck, he's definitely B or even A tier level. But just for the way the decks I use and the situations I find myself in, I don't like him very much. So middle of C tier. At me in the comments if you think I'm an idiot. I'm sure there will be plenty of people that do. Okay, Slave 1. Like I said, with direct damage, it's always going to be valuable. So I think that at the very least puts it B, A, or S. Definitely not S, because it's not better than the Bomber. It has a little bit of a stun, but it doesn't do as much damage. So, kind of like with Droideka, it's more annoying than actually super useful. I think the people who use this just kind of got used to using it, and they just like having that stun in the situation when you use it. But for me, I'm not as big of a fan of it. I'm always going to choose Bomber over Slave 1, at least with the current update and how the cards work. So I think that means he's going to go in B tier. I'm going to put him at the top because of the direct damage, like I said. But I don't think he has quite what it takes to be an A tier yet. Maybe if he gets a little bit of a buff to his damage, then we can talk about A tier, but for right now I think B tier is pretty fair. And last but not least, the 1-cost Stormtrooper. Similar situation with the B1, except now Stormtrooper's overall stronger. So I think that puts him above B1, but not above Great Pro Droid. I think that one's straightforward. Pretty much wraps in what I said about B1 earlier. Same arguments apply, except he has a little more health and a little bit more damage. So I think this is my completed tier list as of right now. This doesn't include any of the heroes or the towers, obviously. So if they were factored in, this would probably look a little different. But for the list that it is, I'm pretty happy with this. Please let me know in the comments what you guys think and how your tier list would look. I'd love to hear about it. Love to see the differences. Because a lot of this I feel like comes down to personal preference and what you like using. Because the game is pretty balanced right now. There's only a few cards that don't really have any viability. So I'd be excited to see what you guys have to say about this and what you guys would rank all this stuff. So do comment that. I'll be reading through it. I'll have a light side one of these videos up within the next few days, hopefully. So keep on the lookout for that. I hope you all have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you next time.